Hey guys, welcome back. As you may have noticed, I'm inside today. My usual venue, is a little wet right now because it's raining. But that's not what's important. What's important is that today we're going to talk about Proverbs 3 verses 19 through 27, which is section 2 out of 3 out of Blessed is the one who finds wisdom. So, let's see why that is. I'll read the whole thing and then we'll go by verse by verse. Verse 19. The Lord by wisdom founded the earth. By understanding he established the heavens. By his knowledge the deep broke open, and the clouds dropped down the dew. My son, do not lose sight of these. Keep sound wisdom and discretion, and they will be life for your soul and adornment for your neck. Then you will walk on your own way securely. Then you will walk on your way securely, and your foot will not stumble. If you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. Do not be afraid of sudden terror or the ruin of the wicked when it comes, for the Lord will be your confidence and will keep your foot from being caught. Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due, when it is in your power to do it. All right. Well, going back to verse 19 and 20, which say, The Lord by wisdom founded the earth, by understanding he established the heavens. By his knowledge the deeps broke open and the clouds dropped down dew. So, from my last video, if you've watched it, and if not, I'll leave a link down below. What I mean when I say God and what I say wisdom are very similar. In that, by God, I mean the set of all rules which govern the universe. Physical rules, psychological rules, all that stuff. And by wisdom, I mean applying your knowledge of those rules to the way you act. And so, when Solomon says, the Lord by wisdom founded the earth, what he's saying is that by his knowledge of the way that things should be, he created the earth. Because without rules, the world wouldn't be anything. Likely we wouldn't exist, you and I, and likely nothing would be as it should be. Gravity wouldn't pull down because it wouldn't exist, because gravity is a law or a rule. Liquids wouldn't be liquid because energy wouldn't have the form that it does now, and so the level of energy that constitutes a level or an object being liquid wouldn't exist. Plants wouldn't exist because structure wouldn't be a thing. Cells or cell walls wouldn't exist. Plants couldn't keep their shape. The chemistry involved in photosynthesis wouldn't exist because atoms wouldn't have form. They wouldn't be different. And so what Solomon is saying here is that in order for the world to work the way it is and have all of its various physical rules be consonant with each other, they had to be exactly as they are right now. And thus, God, or, the mystical order that governs the universe, knew that because, according to the Bible, God is infinitely knowledgeable. So, when he created the world, he made it as it is. And when the rest of verses 19 and 20 basically are elaborating that same idea. So, moving on to verse 21, when he says, My son, do not lose sight of these. Keep sound wisdom and discretion, and they will be life for your soul and adornment for your neck. As, obligatory, be wise and keep discretion from Solomon here, as he's done in pretty much every section that I've talked about so far. He's, again, reiterating the importance of keeping wisdom with you, and and discretion which I suppose is partially synonymous with wisdom in that or when you're discreet, it's not discreet as in keeping secrets, it's discreet as in being careful about the choices you make. Because if you aren't careful, then you might knowingly or unknowingly break one of the rules of the universe, which could lead to unfortunate consequences for you. But if you're discreet and you choose your choices carefully, then you will be able to make the correct choice, the choice that is harmonious with the rules of the universe, and you will have better consequences. At least if you're following rules, the consequences for which are good. By extension, following the good rules will literally lead to longer life, as he says, the life for your soul, and adornment for your neck, which is more or less synonymous with honor, which I also talked about in my previous video. Link in the description. He continues in verse 23, "Then you will walk on your way securely, and your foot will not stumble. If you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet." So, when Solomon says that, you will walk your way securely, and your foot will not stumble, what he's saying is that once you've grasped the rule that governs a certain aspect of life, last video I used hydration, then you can follow that rule. And if you follow that rule, then you won't, quote unquote, stumble, which is to say that you won't detract from the path that you're taking by not following that rule, because not following that rule will lead to negative consequences. He uses the example of sleep because, especially back when the Bible was written, they didn't have predators as well managed as they are nowadays, where, unless you're in the jungle or in the forest, you're not going to randomly happen upon poisonous snakes, unless you're in Australia or something like that. Or, things that could kill you. And so, if you are wise when it comes to laying your bed for the night, say even if you are in the forest, and you have knowledge of all of the various predators that you might encounter, and you set up your bed so that they are guarded against those predators, you have nothing to fear. Say, since you know that where you are has snakes, you set your bed up off the ground. Well, that keeps snakes, which are ground dwellers, from reaching your inhabitants. And some snakes, you might say, live in trees. So, okay, I built walls around my bed, and I put a ceiling on it. It's all airtight. Well, maybe not airtight, but it's all snake tight, I guess you could say. Tight enough that no snake large enough to kill you can get through. And so, you've kept out the snakes. You are safe from snakes. So when you go to bed that night, you have nothing to worry about when it comes to snakes. And, say there are also bears. So, little sticks won't suffice for your hut. So now you've built your hut off the ground and enclosed, but out of thick branches that are tightly lashed together and grounded in the ground, so that if a bear were to take a swipe or two at your building, then it wouldn't collapse, etc. The same logic applies to any predator, any circumstance. At least in this example, it's predators. So, and he says in verse 25, "Do not be afraid of sudden terror or the ruin of the wicked when it comes. For the Lord will be your confidence and will keep your foot from being caught." Here he is specifically talking about sin, which, is a breaking of the rules which govern human interaction, let's say, or interaction with your own self, i.e. moral rules. He's saying if you're wise and you know the rules of morality, which are in the Bible, at least the ones that I believe in, and you follow them, then you have no reason to fear when, as he says, there is sudden terror or the quote ruin of the wicked, end quote. Or in my Bible, there's a footnote that says it's the storm of the wicked, or person trying to entice you into sin comes along and tries to entice you into sin. You know that if you follow the rules of morality, you'll be safe because, well, at least according to Christian theology, um, sin is death in an eternal sort of way, a very painful way, I would imagine. But as he says, and as I said earlier, if you follow the rules of morality, quote, the Lord will be your confidence and will keep your foot from getting caught. You won't trip up on the things that trip up other people, i.e., in this case, sin. And this is not to say that knowing what leads to sin makes it any easier to not sin or to not break any of the moral rules, but it makes you more aware of the potential for you to break these moral rules, which by extension makes it a little easier not to sin, in that if you see that you're about to encounter a situation in which you are more likely to break a moral rule, then you can exit the situation or shut it down somehow. In general, just avoid it. Lastly, we have verses 27 and 28, which read, "Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due, when it is in your power to do it." If the golden rule is do unto others as you would have done unto you, then this is probably like the silver rule. As a rule of thumb, that seems to make sense. Why? Well, first of all, people won't like you if you withhold good things from them when they've done things to deserve them. Say you tell someone, hey, if you mow my lawn, I'll give you $15. And so they move your lawn, or they mow your lawn, and they are thus deserving of the $15 that you owe them. If you don't give it to them, they're probably going to be a little upset with you. And so, since they're deserving, in order to maintain the good graces of others, since you have made that promise, you ought to give them the $15. That's a pretty basic example, I guess. But it extends to pretty much anything involved in good works. And yeah, this is another short video. Let me know if you like shorter videos versus longer videos in the comments down below. As a brief overview, by God's infinite knowledge of the way things work together and what rules work in a physical universe and what rules don't, He created the universe inherent with those rules. And if we grasp hold of those rules and utilize them in our life, we will have a longer life, for one, honor in another, as referenced from the other video, and we will, quote, not stumble, meaning we will not get tripped up on things that are set up to trip you up. And lastly, if you follow the rules that you know, then you have nothing to worry about in as far as you know things. Oh, and lastly, I think I already said that, but this is the true last. Don't withhold good from those to whom it is due, because people will not like you, and you will have no friends. With that, I bid you adieu. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out my other videos in this series. Colonel's in, Colonel's out.